Alright, so I know the title says that we're gonna frick, I just did a whole intro and I wasn't even streaming. So now I have to do it again. I just messed it up for the first sentence. Okay, whatever. I know the title says, like, that we're going to be reacting to WICSO and Adizz Pro stuff, but first we're going to be playing Minecraft, because I have someone special who I'm going to react to with it. And I completely forgot what I was going to say. So, I'll just put in the comments when I do react to it after the stream has ended, and yeah. Catch you in a bit, unless you want to watch me play Minecraft, which will be in like 3 minutes because I just need to set something up, so goodbye. Wait, could you even hear me? Hello, hello? Okay, good. Alright, just having to load the game. It's taken quite a while. Hopefully we don't play too much Minecraft. Alright. Okay, I forgot to turn that off. It's fine, okay. Let's go. If you haven't checked out my new video, it's chapter 3 of making dens. You probably just don't care. But yeah, new video if you want to watch it. Just came out today, an hour ago. February 2nd, 2026, if you're watching it like a year later or something. It's called New Den Place, Chapter 3. Probably not the best title, but like, I don't know, bro, I'm pretty washed. Anyway, let's just quickly go into this. Like, I stream, like, at least once every 2 days now, instead of upload videos. Because I'm too lazy, man. Like, streaming is just so easy. And I really should be uploading shorts, because I have loads of shorts on my phone, but again, I'm not uploading shorts, so that's bad. Yeah, I'm going to start uploading shorts soon. Okay, just wait for the game to load. Okay, it's really laggy. Again, I'm not uploading shorts, so alright, last time we played on this world, well, we haven't got a roof or a floor yet, we just have a... Yeah, last time we played on this world, we built the house, we moved in from here. We've also got this cow farm, which is nice. And a bunch of sticks from the birch. So first we'll complete... Yeah, if you weren't here for the start of the stream, we're going to be playing Minecraft first, a little bit, and then we're going to be reacting to WICSO. Because that's cool. So what am I doing? I should probably sleep. Not just WICSO, the alternate future or whatever. Can do a whole series. I'm going to react to pretty much every episode, I think. Maybe not every episode in WICSO, because there's a lot of them. And I've already seen the episodes. Some of them. I don't know what to do. 10 ender pearls. Could just go to the nether and try and... Because we're going to try and beat the game on this world. Because I haven't beat the game on Java yet. I've got enough food. Nether portal over there. Probably get some blocks. Don't really have blocks other than wool. And wood, which I don't really want to use, because, like, flammable. I might go mining again, to be honest. Might as well. Just gonna go mining for a little bit. Where are all my torches, bro? I swear I made, like, a stack. Okay. Please. Maybe torches and... Anywhere? Torches? What? Okay, well... And take all this. Probably just do this. Take the furnaces. Can do that. Can do this. Okay. Cool. Now we're set. Just gotta remember where I went. I think I went down here. Oh, I've got hiccups now. This is not good. Fridge. What's over here, bro? Okay, just another way to get down, I guess. Yeah, down here. And then not over there. Down here. Yo, yo. Streaming again, bro. I'm on a pretty good streak. Probably not gonna last that long though. But yeah, playing a bit of Minecraft, and we're gonna react to this series called WICSO. I'm lost, bro. I don't know where I'm going. Bro, you don't have to say that every time. Just give me a thing now. Right, it's definitely over there. Where is it, man? Down here? Maybe? Bro, oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Bit of torch here. What is this? I don't remember this. What? Oh, it just leads to a dead end, so we're gonna patch this up. Already back. You were too short. I mean, not short. You were too fast. I thought I could play a bit more Minecraft than I've already played. So there's just someone in this room. Just one of my friends. Okay, here we go. I will play a bit more though. Because there's no way I'm playing Minecraft for 3 minutes. Hello. Probably just gonna die. I'm playing a bit more because you really didn't take that long. I thought you were gonna take longer. Okay, this is just hell. Play some torches down. What's down here then? I don't know. I should probably just watch it. Yeah. Bro. We'll get some diamonds and go up and then we'll watch it. That sound good? Never gonna find any. Don't know why I keep going down the smallest holes. Never gonna find any in there. Swear I just saw some. Nah, it's gold. Very dark. Yep. Okay. I'm running low on energy, so like probably I'll probably be a bit boring. Okay, my game's crashed. Okay, why am I going down the small hole? Please, diamond. I want to move on to. Oh my god. Oh my god. I definitely don't want to die. Otherwise, I'm going to have to come all the way back over here. Is that diamonds? Diamonds. Oh my god, there's more. Oh my god, there's... One sec. Okay, I'm gonna get some diamonds over there and I'm gonna go. Ow! There's no, there's actually so many. Please. Jesus Christ. Can't see, it's dark. 3 diamonds, that's great. anymore. Nah, okay. Right, we're gonna leave now. Ow, 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 ow. Where'd I come from over here? Right, let's go. Don't know why I did that. Just wanted to water bucket clutch. Oh my god, I missed this as well. Jeez. Lucky. Right. Whatever. Alright, let's leave. None over there. Let's watch this WICSO, shall we? Oh my god, what? How do I keep missing this stuff? Or am I just going the wrong way? Definitely don't remember this. I'm actually lost. What? Here? Nah, no way. Maybe. No, but more diamonds. Sure. Cool. I just need to somehow get out of here because I'm so lost. Okay. Please, bird. Wait. What is this? Oh yes, found it. Right, we gone. We are gone. Was it this way? Oh yeah, I went down there. Oh, okay. That's fine. Oh my god. Yeah, wrong way. That is up here. Yeah. Cool. Alright. Just give me a second. Very good sense of direction I have. Okay. And it's night time, so we're gonna sleep and then leave. Cool. Alright, let's do this. Got a little seal back there. Just not that little. Pretty big. So, I'm just pulling that up right now. Okay. Oh, I just clicked on my own stream. Okay, yeah. Clearly not smart enough. No, that's season 2.
Today we're taking a look at the alternative future of the world.
Season 1. Let's go. I haven't watched this in a while. Yeah, the last time I watched this is 3 years ago when it came out, which is crazy. Maybe, I don't know. Not really 3 years ago. Just tell me if it's too loud or too quiet.
Two specials. This is the second half of the first one, and if you haven't seen the first special, which is what if every empire went to war, I suggest you go watch it because it is a very good video. I've read through a lot of the comments on the video.
Okay, yeah, the most of the video is just gonna be me just like.
And I'm glad to see that you guys are enjoying it because it took me a very long time to make. So
yeah, at least.
Enjoying it makes me happy. But of course, since 50,000 subscribers is such a large milestone, I'm doing 2 specials. And this special is kind of a drawn out special.
Okay, well, we don't care. This is gonna take way too long. Okay.
That's a big jump. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump into the scenario. Alright, so starting off, we are going to be starting with the war in Ukraine. Now, I know that I've covered this about 15 different times now, but we are starting in modern day, which means you have to start from where we are now, which is June 20th for me, June 22nd for you. And yeah, so this is approximately what it looks like in Ukraine.
Right. Something like that.
We're gonna be building off from here. Now, do keep
it's too loud for me though.
Alternative future of the world, so certain events may not play out how they will in real life, but the first couple episodes here will be doing just that. It's gonna be portraying future events or more probable events.
So yeah, as I'm watching this, episode 100 of WICSO is gonna come out next. The 99th video came out on like Sunday.
Because, you know, Russia and Ukraine go into war, and probably
so yesterday
pushing off Ukraine, which could span off for a couple more months, but this is an alternative future.
Okay,
so
he's actually yapping so hard, like, oh my god.
Let's go ahead and start off here, where we have Russia continuing to invade Ukraine. At this point in the war, Russia is gaining ground. You know, before they weren't doing too well, they got kicked out of northern Ukraine, but now they're sending a lot more military in, and their logistics are becoming better. The Russians managed to take complete control of the Donbass area, which makes a lot of Ukrainian troops lose morale. In addition to this, they restart their operations in the north, which they go slow at first, but eventually they start to pick up speed. At this point in the war, we have Western weapons flowing into Ukraine and in mass speeds. But what we do see is a new event, which is Russia starting to attack these convoys heading into Ukraine. Now, in real life, Russia has already stated that they would attack these, but they really haven't done so yet. And since these I
think Ukraine does fall.
NATO members sending their supplies in. It would be interesting to see if this would invoke Article 5, but I doubt it would because these are most likely Ukrainians coming to the border.
So yeah, bear in mind this was 3 years ago. So stuff has definitely changed since now. The US would probably not be doing as much.
And getting the supplies. So yeah, lots of weapons going into Ukraine. We have long-range missiles and all that kind of stuff. So now Ukraine has a lot more weapon systems than they used to have. Ukraine shoots some missiles and some of them go into Russian territory, which angers Russian President Vladimir Putin, who decides to declare full-on war in Ukraine and starts to mobilize the entire Russian military. Now, seeing as this is no longer just an invasion, this is full-on war, we have NATO kind of getting ready for a possible incursion into their territory. Troops in Western Europe start to move over towards Eastern Europe and line the border of all the NATO countries. And we finally have Turkey allowing for Sweden and Finland to join NATO.
It's got pretty close to happening.
Discussions. So now we have all 32 member states in NATO ready for a possible invasion into NATO territory. and everyone is on standby. After being fully mobilized, the Russians start to swarm into northern Ukraine and beat back the Ukrainian army. Down south, a naval landing is made in Odessa, which cuts off all of southern Ukraine, which ends up going over to Russia. And from here, the Russians swarm.
I'm gonna do something real quick. Sorry, just need to. It's a bit big. Kind of just in the way. Might just put it up here. Does that look better?
From southern Ukraine. They push over across Ukraine, which ends up going over to Russia, and from here the Russians swarm up from southern Ukraine. They push over across the other side of the Dnieper, which encircles a lot of Ukrainian troops in the south. Eventually the Russians push out and completely encircle them, and they are forced to surrender or die. In addition to Russia invading Ukraine, we also have Belarus finally declaring war on Ukraine after it looks like the tides of war have finally changed. Belarusian troops now come from another angle and start to encircle northern Ukraine and push towards Kyiv, which lies right about there. Northern Ukraine falls over to Belarus and Russia, and Russian troops start to spearhead up north towards their northern incursion. Eventually, their spearhead is met up, and we have a large number of Ukrainian troops.
Ukraine definitely does fall.
These troops decide to push up north in order to gain more ground around Kyiv, which goes successfully, and they almost manage to break out of the spearhead until eventually doing just that. With this, Ukrainian troops decide to focus up north in order to protect the Kyiv area, and are also told to defend the western half of the Dnieper River. So Ukrainian troops manage to push out the Belarusians and Russians out of the northern area, as well as a little bit in the south, but ultimately end up losing all of this area. So now Ukraine is in a bit of a stalemate situation. They're not necessarily losing, but they're definitely not winning. The river that I keep mentioning runs a course that looks something
I think they're losing.
This. I might not be completely accurate, but that's okay because you get the main idea. But Ukraine is, as of now, pushed up against that river in these areas, which is good because that means Russia can't cross it. And if Russia does try to cross it, they can use their missile defenses from the west in order to blow up any crossing vehicles. The only problem they have is down here in the south, where the Russians have already gotten past the river area and are in southern Ukraine. So while they manage to hold their ground in the north, we have the Russians storming up from the south. Now, the perspective on time in this situation is probably viewing really low. And don't get me wrong, this isn't taking place within days. This is taking place within months. And this is taking a lot of time for Russia to do, but they are
years, maybe.
However, we do have the Russians pushing up from the south and doing a similar movement as they did earlier. Russian and Belarusian troops managed to push down and cut off Ukraine once again. This time, Ukraine finds it hard to break out of the spearhead, and eventually Russian troops start to storm across from the north and the south. Kyiv is captured, and Zelensky is forced to flee over here to western Ukraine. And eventually, the troops in central Ukraine are all captured. From here, Belarusian troops and Russian troops cross over from Belarus's southern border and start to invade the remainder of Ukraine. The forces push down and continue to squish into Ukrainian territory until only one major city is left, which is Lviv. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's pronounced many different ways.
It's okay. We don't care.
I'm not pronouncing it right. So
it's
that
fine.
city is all that remains, and eventually it is starting to get encircled.
Every time he says that, we just don't care, man. It's just a city.
Ukraine starts to fall to Russia. After months of fighting, all of Ukraine's military is captured, but there is still a heavy amount of guerrilla warfare happening within the country. Zelensky manages to escape to neighboring Poland. So now that all of Ukraine is captured, Russia can make up a peace treaty for the country. And let's go ahead and take a look at that said peace treaty. Alright, looking at this peace treaty here, we have Belarus getting a little bit of northern Ukraine, but we have the eastern half of Ukraine, which is east of the Dnieper River, going over to Russia. As for the rest of Ukraine, we have a new government being set up that is extremely pro-Russian. So now we have a larger buffer zone between NATO and Russia, except for the fact that this buffer zone is controlled by Russia, and they're starting to move military assets into this area. NATO doesn't like this and is to start to supply Eastern Europe even heavier. Eventually, after all these forces are moved in, it comes clear with what Russia's next plan is.
Had the zest in his voice. Moldova. Even heavier.
Who is very close to Moldova, is not happy about this. But they don't do anything because if they were to attack Russia, they really wouldn't get NATO support with them. And overall, Romania wouldn't have a chance of winning that war. So what they do is they just send volunteers into Moldova, and they also start to heavily supply the country.
There is absolutely no point.
Troops are now swarming into the country, which very swiftly falls over to Russian forces, and we once again see another peace treaty erupt. Looking at this peace treaty, Moldova is forced to be annexed by Ukraine, which is really interesting because Russia invaded Ukraine to free the Russians that were there. So it's kind of weird that they're mixing Ukrainians and Moldovans together. But hey, it's just a Russian thing. So now these borders are very, very tense. And it once again looks like another Iron Curtain has set across Europe, except this time it's a little bit further back. So now Russia has one more country in which it has a plan for special operations, and that is Georgia. Now Russia already has a little bit of land in Georgia, similar to how they already had control of Crimea in real life, and they use this to their advantage and start to push into northern Georgia. The only problem with this country is that it's literally a mountain, so This is a very slow invasion. They managed to use their navy and take control of the Georgian coast along the Black Sea, but ultimately that doesn't really get them that far. It's also at this point that NATO starts to realize that their policy with Russia and NATO itself may be a little bit outdated, and they might have to start updating their policies in order to kind of contain Russia. And by that, NATO states that it will now interfere with any war in which Russia gets involved with. Now, the only term with that is that the country must be a NATO partner or work closely with NATO. So technically, Georgia would apply for that because they are a NATO partner, although this policy was invoked after they started.
Yeah, you can't really be doing that.
Doesn't count for them. But we have countries such as Azerbaijan qualifying as a new NATO partner. We also have Bosnia and Herzegovina, which was already a NATO partner, Austria, and Ireland. We also have Kosovo applying for NATO partnership, but it really is kind of on the line thing because Greece doesn't recognize them, as well as Spain and I think Romania. So yeah, it's a little bit iffy on that one. But back over in Georgia, the Russian army has a lot of success in northwestern Georgia, and from here they push down to capture all of eastern Georgia, and eventually the country capitulates to Russia. But once again, we have a lot of guerrilla warfare. In the peace treaty, Georgia gets completely annexed by Russia. So now looking at how Eastern Europe has changed in, I guess, a 5 to 10 year span, we have a lot of changes. Russia invaded the eastern half of Ukraine and annexed all of it. We have a new government in Ukraine, which is very pro-Russian. Moldova was annexed by Ukraine, and now we have Georgia being annexed by Russia. But now we're met with a roadblock as Russia has nowhere else to really expand. All of the rest of Europe is NATO aligned. Of course, Turkey is as well. Armenia is their ally, and Azerbaijan is a NATO partner. So they could invade.
This is basically just what if Russia went rogue and attacked every country at once video.
They have fair relations with these countries, so there really wouldn't be a point in doing so. And yeah, for now, Russia's expansionism is stopped. Elsewhere in the world, though, we do have some interesting scenarios playing out, such as Bougainville finally getting independence from Papua New Guinea, and this is a real life thing. So
the US attacking Venezuela.
This island does want their independence from Papua New Guinea, and it is said that they will get independence by 2027,
Greenland.
which that year has already
NATO falls apart.
So they are now independent. Also, this might be the Solomon I'm pretty sure this is it, though, so I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong though. Alright, so we have one more country in the world, but also two less. We have another major event happening, and this time it's in the Pacific Ocean. So in this scenario, China has not yet invaded Taiwan, although in real life this will probably take place before 2026.
Yeah, things would definitely be different if it was recorded in 2026. Fuck.
But they don't do that just yet. You see, in real life, China has been having some excursions into the Taiwanese airspace, but in this scenario, they're doing it almost daily. We've also been seeing Chinese warships in the Strait of Taiwan, and this is very alarming for the country, and an invasion seems pretty much
didn't hear anything.
So taking a quick look at the military alliances of the world. Now, I know this isn't probably everything. There's things like the Rio Pact, there's also things like CSTO. I know those exist, but due to the countries within those packs having some issues with each other, we're going to assume that they aren't really military packs. There's also the Arab League, which also probably really wouldn't function as a defensive military alliance, but here we have outlined every real defensive military alliance. Now, countries also have individual alliances, such as the US having a defensive pact with Israel, South Korea, Japan. All those countries have defensive pacts with the United States, but they aren't outlined here because that would just be too much, and then I'd have to do that with every single country. So yeah, we're just gonna be sticking to this, which is just NATO and then AUKUS, except I've done something interesting with that alliance. So we all know how there's the American United Kingdom.
Yeah, and then it goes into like an alliance of all of the South Americans and stuff. Okay, stop leaking it.
Australian alliance. There's also the UK, Australia, New Zealand. They're all connected in one way or another, and also.
I say South Africa. I mean South America. I don't know. Maybe.
Canada's in there with Canada. So what if we just merge them all into one alliance? And that's what I have outlined here. So the pink, that would be the new alliance, and then the purple would be the new alliance plus NATO. So if it's purple, it's in NATO as well as in the new alliance with Oceania. So yeah, that's just a quick look at alliances. Let's go ahead and jump right back into the alternative future. Just kidding, because we have a new alliance forming up, and that is the alliance between the United States, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, and the Philippines. These are the founding members of the Pacific Defense Organization, or the PDO. Now, of course, the United States is already in an alliance with two other groups of countries, so they're going to be getting their own color now, which is most likely this orangey color. And now we have this alliance established. Now we actually have some countries also opting to join the PDO, which is Australia, who gets this beigey color. And yeah, you're really going to want to watch this first video to understand
very confusing
what is happening with all these alliances here.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that I'm probably going to be getting a lot of other countries to join, and eventually I'll probably just merge it all into one big alliance. But for now, this is what we have on the alliance map. And yeah, so let's go ahead and take
not the best way of doing things, but alright.
And that would be the US starting a special operations mission in Cuba. Cuba. Now the world probably would not be in favor of this, most likely, because, you know, America doing
should be Venezuela, bro.
Ukraine, that's not okay. But they have an actual reason this time, and that is that they somehow got a hold of plans for Russia to put missiles in Cuba, similar to the Cuban Missile Crisis. Except this time the missiles aren't there yet, but they do have some spies in Cuba. And it is confirmed that Russia did plan to put some weapons in Cuba aimed towards the United States. So with this, the U.S. finds justification to declare war on Cuba, and the United States Navy swiftly occupies the waters around Cuba. From here, American troops land on the northern part of the island, just 90 miles south of the Florida Keys. And with this landing, they push over and manage to capture Havana within the first week of landing. From here, Cuba is effectively cut in half.
Yes, Anatas, I'm very excited, blood.
American troops push into and capture all of western Cuba as well as their island.
Very much.
And now the United States starts a campaign to invade the rest of Cuba, which goes pretty successfully. The Cuban military has a very
I was thinking about you the other day.
Are in favor of the American invasion, but
like, oh my god, it's been in the stream for a while.
The island country. Taking a look at a peace treaty, Cuba becomes a part of the United States and is integrated as a territory. So they now get an orange color, and the U.S. now has a lot more influence and control over the Caribbean Sea. And yeah, that's going to do it for this first episode. So let's go ahead and take a look at a quick recap.
Great. Okay, we don't need to see that. It's going to take too long.
So today we're going to be continuing to look at...
I don't know how many videos we're going to watch today, but we're just going to keep going.
The alternative future of the world. Now, if you haven't seen part 1 in this series...
I don't really want to react to all of them. Like... I don't know, sure, why not?
Series, I highly suggest you go watch it because it is a fairly good video, and then of course you wouldn't know what's really happening. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump right into this scenario. So when we left off last time, we had Russia expanding into Eastern Europe. Nation alliance between alliances. I do want to. So all in all, a lot of alliances are starting to show up in the Discord server.
Yeah,
I do believe him. I know the major attack. I'm not sure if it's correct. You guys can correct me in the comments.
Okay, alliances. Yep.
Help us out.
Stuff.
Okay. On Syria and Lebanon. Then
he's probably speaking some facts right now, which I kind of want to listen to. Actually, no, this is 3 years ago. I don't know.
But yeah, we're doing the Discord. For this video, we're going to be starting off in the Middle East, and it is here that we see Turkey declare war on Syria. Now, why would Turkey do this? Because, you know, Syria is a complete mess right now. There's multiple rebel groups, and there's a lot of foreign powers playing in with it, and that's the exact reason Turkey's doing this. So Turkey declares war on Syria and starts their invasion into the country. So Turkey declares war on Syria and starts an invasion into the country. Turkish troops quickly move into the northern part and then push down the coast, cutting Syria off from the Mediterranean Sea. But eventually, Syria invokes the axis of resistance, which is one of the alliances that I had mentioned. So Lebanon and Iran are in that. But Turkey was aware of it, and Turkey alone is probably a little bit stronger than Iran.
Yeah.
So they will be able to hold them off. However, Iran is, you know, it's not too far off from Turkey. So Turkey will have to be distracted.
I just know this is going to take so freaking long. Okay.
Distracted with invading and occupying Syria and Lebanon, but then at the same time they're going to be distracted with Iran pushing into their eastern half. Luckily for Turkey though, they do have one ally, which is Azerbaijan, who comes to the aid of Turkey, and from here Turkey continues to push into Syria. They then now push down into Lebanon and occupy the country, as well as starting a full-on campaign into the northern half of the country. In the east, Iranian troops cross the border and enter into Turkey while taking the exclave of Azerbaijan, and we have a small amount of Azerbaijani troops entering into northern Iran. Now the problem with this area in particular is that it's very mountain, so yeah, mountain. Iran would have a hard time pushing into Turkey, and Azerbaijan would have a hard time pushing into...
I just want to say, like, the first series is really just not that interesting. I really just want to move on to the next series and watch the major episodes. So, you know what? I'm going to do that. We're just going to...
China is being attacked through its main...
So, China, Japan, and Korea and that go to war. The African war. The blue team wins. Something like this. Okay. Then Libya does stuff. Alliance. Okay. Pretty unlikely alliance, but okay. South Africa.
Although here isn't very happy.
I guess South Africa just takes his little...
Elsewhere in the world.
Like, so...
So today we're going to be continuing to look at the alternative future of the world. Now this is part 3 to our alternative future series, and if you haven't seen the first 2 parts, make sure to go far.
I'm sorry, I'm just speaking facts, it's just not that entertaining. Oh, China has a civil war, okay. African war. And those might not be the most interesting thing.
In order to push back the Sudanese over here in western Ethiopia.
Let's see who wins. Red team probably wins. Like he's quite like plain and just boring in this.
So in order to recuperate and expand, we actually
go to like part 8.
Today we're continuing to look at the
yeah, a lot of stuff has changed. So we've got the Ottoman Empire 2.0, we've got the Russian Empire 2.0, we've got the collapse of China, we've got the unification of Korea, we have America doing some stuff. He's probably got Greenland in that. No, he doesn't, because I don't think he made NATO collapse yet, because he likes NATO. We got like this country I forgot the name of, taking more stuff, taking more land. India, oh yeah, India got in with the war of China and Pakistan, because Pakistan hates China. I mean, what? Pakistan hates India, so India joined. Something's happening here. Right, who really cares? Because this doesn't really lead up to anything.
So today we're going to be continuing to look at the alternative future of the world. Now it has
what the fly?
It's been a hot second since I last
oh my god, do you see that? Okay. Nazi Germany, what the hell?
Made an alternative future video, but we're finally back with part 11. In the last video, we had a lot of things going down. If I remember correctly, we had a big war in South America, which entirely changed the continent. We also had some unifications taking place in Europe, such as Czechoslovakia.
That is why?
I'm pretty sure Germany and Austria. And then finally, we had Russia having a lot of reforms. So a lot of the land that they annexed from other countries over here in Eastern Europe was given back to those countries, such as Finland over here. We had Poland getting stuff back. And then most obviously, we had Ukraine getting their central territory back.
I'm watching a mapping video, which is very not too entertaining, but it's like very informative and interesting. Okay. Oh, cool.
Jump into this alternative feature video. Make sure you guys leave a like on this video. And
final.
So today we're going to be taking a look at the finale of the alternative.
Wait. Like
so
part.
Today we're going to be continuing to look at the alternative future of
part 9.
So today we're going to be continuing to look at the alternative future of the world.
So
the escalation of the Cold War, and well, officially
Cold War. The Chinese are like robots, I think.
Taking a look at the
now
alliance map, we can see that the CSTO has completely dissolved and a new Northern African alliance is
NATO is still alive somehow.
We also have the WDO losing a lot of members, and overall there is no longer a Cold War mentality. It is more so of a WDO dominated world. Many countries have become neutral and many countries are struggling internally. So let's go ahead and see how this continues to play out. If you guys do enjoy this video,
if you're gonna watch it from here,
on the video, liking, subscribing, commenting, all that stuff really helps the channel out. And yeah, let's go ahead and look at the scenario. So the first event we have taking place is actually over here in North America.
No way.
Probably like 2120, 2130, 2115.
The US is going to declare war on Canada.
2100s.
Or they're going to unite.
Canada finally decide to unite together.
Oh, okay.
However, the incentive to do so is there. It just doesn't have enough support from both sides. Here we are 100 years in the future, and people in both countries decided that uniting would be beneficial to both countries. And just like that, the United States and Canada formed together.
Big power.
Possibly the largest country in the world. Also the most powerful and
I think definitely
economically powerful, but that's kind of carried by the United States. So what would the name of this country be? Probably it would maybe stay the United States of America. It could be the United States of North America, but just for this video,
United States of the Americas.
The United States. But yeah, Northern North America has just united, and overall, if we take a look at the alliance map, we can see that there's not that many countries remaining in North America. We have the United States, we have Mexico, the Central American states.
Yeah, the future of episodes do get more entertaining.
Honestly, I don't remember what I said about these ones. I think I might have said that they're
but yeah, you can leave if you want. I'm not forcing you to stay.
Assume that they are American owned. Also, I just realized I apologize for the sound of someone doing lawn work outside.
Yeah, I hear that. It's like, okay.
I just realized that that's happening. So I'm gonna wait for that to be finished and then I'll come back to recording. Alrighty, now moving down to South America.
Okay.
This year we go down to French Guiana, who finally gets their independence. Now in real life,
Whoa!
is a department of France, an overseas department. And honestly, I don't know too much about their independence movement. However, it's been 100 years. I'm sure they want
It's only part
Just
9.
like that,
Wait.
independence and officially
Wait.
So today we're going to be continuing to look at the alternative future of the world. Now it has been a
Okay,
hot
I know
second
I'm
since
just
I last-
freaking not caring, man.
So today we're going to be continuing to take a look at
U.S. Civil
the
War.
alternative future of the world. That's right. After 2 months of me just postponing it and saying I'm going to do it again, we're finally doing it for day 1 of daily upload week. And that's right. It is
I like that country. Ooh, it's a very interesting country, that one. Oh, that one's pretty interesting as well. That one, I recognize that country. This is strange. What is that?
To 100,000 subscribers within January. That's not an official goal, but if we do get there, it'll set us up good for the end of the year goal. Anyway, alternative future series.
That's also very interesting.
This one today. There's gonna be another one.
You understand it when we get to the future episodes.
Week. So you guys have a lot of alternative future to look forward to. And if you do enjoy this alternative future video, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel.
Italy just hasn't changed.
If you're new, once again aiming for 100,000 subscribers. We only have around 8,750 to go. And yeah, let's go ahead and jump right into the alternative future. Alright, in the previous video, a lot of things happened. Most notably, though, the unification of Western Europe over here into the European Union. Overall, there was a lot of unification, such as the unification of Grand Colombia. There was also Siam. War-wise, we had Russia invading Central Asia and Mongolia, as well as China, which was interesting. But yeah, a lot of major tension-changing things happened in the last video, and we're going to be picking up right where we left off. So coming down to Myanmar here. Now, Myanmar has been through a lot in this series. I think they were part of the early red team, which was like the World War III team. If you've seen my videos before, you already know what the World War III team looks like, and if you haven't, shame on you, go watch my videos.
Okay, great.
Could you try again?
What? But then they got occupied the last land and were forced into the WDO, which is basically the NATO of this world, except it's like the entire world. They've been in there since, however, they did recently.
Well, let me just analyze that. Okay, so we got a allied Russia, and then interesting. Very interesting.
The entire world.
China's on our side.
However, they did recently hold a referendum to join in on Siam, which is a recently united country, who is also a member of the Neutral Alliance, and the votes are in, and Myanmar is also in. Now, what did the vote count look like? Well, it's actually surprisingly a little bit more than you would think. 68% of people voting to join in with Siam, and of course the remaining 32% wanted to stay with the WDO, and of course Myanmar's sovereignty. But majority rules here, and Myanmar is a part of Siam now. Siam itself is just a neutral country. These three are united together, but I just haven't updated the World Alliance map. Now, speaking of unifications and referendums and stuff like that, let's go over to Europe. Specifically Denmark, who in the last video also started a referendum to see if they wanted to join in on the Scandinavian Union. I called it the Nordic Union, but as of now it's more Scandinavian than Nordic, so it's going to be staying Scandinavian Union until maybe possibly Finland joins. Not a foreshadowing, just a possibility. So Denmark did vote to join. Their vote was a lot more one-sided, 74% compared to 26%. And yeah, that's not the right union. But Denmark is now
Union.
Now we go over to Russia, who is continuing to want to expand despite being probably the largest country in the world at this point. The United States might beat them out by a couple thousand maybe. I don't know. I'm just saying that because they did lose all of this land over here. But now they're going to do something it's a little bit weird. They're going to force their allies to join in their union. So Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan will join the Russian Federation, or at this point, I guess it's the Russian Empire. It is an axis.
I heard that little voice crack.
Because every time we hear of an axis in history, it's usually not good. But yeah, Russia will annex their old neighbors and allies and form a basically just like a semi-Soviet Union. But with this, Russia and allies are in check. They have nowhere to expand. In the peace treaty last video, they agreed not to invade either China or India. That takes away those options. They're not going to invade Japan. They're part of the WDO. They're not going to invade their ally Iran. They could invade Georgia, although they are still in the process of joining
Georgia's
the WDO
still here?
Basically in at this point.
How is Georgia here?
Well, the answer is nowhere. They literally cannot expand anywhere. Therefore, they're going to be expanding elsewhere in their alliance, and it's not going to be the Russians themselves. Instead, they're going to be adding a new member. This member is going to be South Africa. With South Africa on the red team, this immediately creates a lot of tension over here in Africa. If you watched the previous videos, the East African Federation, or I think I called it the Central African Federation now, they got into a pretty large Cold War and a war itself with South Africa around this region, trying to take all these countries over, and they ultimately ended up winning that, kind of. And South Africa, as we saw in the last video as well, is kind of in favor of Russia. They recognize this little strip of land over here, which is something that's not common across the world if you aren't Russian leaning, and they finally make it official by joining in on Russia's alliance. So with South Africa on their side now, South Africa immediately declares war on Zimbabwe and Mozambique. What did these two countries do? Well, literally nothing. I'm pretty sure they fought on the same side as these guys in the last video. I don't remember, or the video before that. I don't remember. I only watched the last video to catch up. Shame on me, but I do want to start cranking these videos out so I don't have to put as much stress on myself during the actual upload week. That's right, I'm recording this on the 4th. Joke's on you guys. 4 week South Africa, they were war stricken.
Great.
They're not in a good spot to survive. South Africa takes advantage of that and manages to capitulate both of them within a couple of weeks. And as we can see here by the peace treaty,
wow, lovely South Africa.
Oh,
this reminds me of something from the new episodes. Okay, I should stop. Actually, just shut up.
Once again, the map here isn't updated all the way, but you can see up here they only border Nigeria, who are friendly towards them. They also border Angola, but as you can see by their landmass, they invaded Angola. They sort of invade Namibia, but they're barely surviving. So they're almost completely surrounded here. And as it turns out, that's exactly where the red team wants them. Now, of course, the WDO is going to be flying to the aid of the Central African Federation here. They're not going to get involved directly, but they are going to send a crap load of equipment, materials, resources, all that stuff is going to go over to the Central African Republic. They don't want to get involved just yet, just because they are not ready to get involved if they even wanted to. Obviously, they have the major advantage here, but it would just be too much to go to war right now. So at first we see the Axis having a lot of success, pushing down into different parts.
The what? The Axis? Okay.
Central African Federation. They mostly tend to focus on the coast over here in the Indian Ocean. We see South Africa also go up
very much. Wow.
And into the southern parts of Tanzania.
So crazy.
It looks like that the Central African Federation was not ready for this war, and it continues to look that way for several weeks as they just keep getting beat back, unable to hold off the red team. Finally though, after a month or two of...
Must admit, it's not that interesting right now, but when it gets to season 2, it's gonna get better.
Fighting, the blue team starts to finally kick back. They send troops down south into South Africa in order to push...
Menace, excuse me.
Pretty large lake right here, which I should probably know the name of, but I don't. Following that, they focus on the coast over here and do well pushing back until the red team is able to hold off the blue team. Up north, the same case scenario, they go for the coast, while also pushing them back from this lake over here. At this point, the Central African Federation is exhausted of fighting, although they have to continue on, as the red team shows no signs of wanting to stop. The red team now guns for the Atlantic coast in order to cut off any trading routes that the Central African Federation has with the WDO, and they are surprisingly enough successful in doing so, even though you would think that the Central African Federation would want to protect this port. From here, the CAF pushes back even further.
Do we really care about Africa, man? Okay.
Over here in Central Africa.
Cool.
Of course, starting off with the red team, the victors here, so far.
So the red team.
This peace treaty. All right,
yeah,
look at this
that's
peace
pretty
treaty. We've had a lot change over here in Central Africa.
Guessable.
Of course, starting off with the red team, the victors here, they have completely dismantled the Central African Federation.
Maybe
and just left it to the DRC and Gabon as well. Exactly.
The main parts of the series is China and stuff like that. Okay.
On a different team, that being the blue team. These guys are going to get a new member, and that member is going to be Nigeria. Nigeria is already pretty close with the WDO. I don't think they were ever in it, if I remember correctly, but they've always worked with them. They've been close with each other, and with the mass expansion of red in Africa, they're going to make the safe bet and go ahead and join in the WDO in order to save themselves from probably death. And with that, the only two neutral countries in Africa are now going to be the remains of Namibia and the Republic, or the Federation thingy, which is just the Congo. So the Congo. Now we go back over to Western Europe, where we are going to have another country decide to join in on the European Union. Now,
oh yeah, Switzerland doesn't change for the whole season.
However, some countries decided to go ahead and like do a referendum anyway, kind of like what Denmark did. And turns out Iberia wants in because their vote was 56 to 44.
It's a big old country then.
Vote, and they're gonna go ahead and join in. Now, it might seem weird because they did just unite into Iberia, but the fact that they're already a union and the thoughts of unionizing are already in the head of the people of Iberia, that's pretty much going to push them to join in on the European Federation. And that's exactly what they do. Now, no one else is going to do this right now because there's no point in doing it. Poland's chilling, Hungary's chilling, Croatia's chilling, Italy's chilling. They really have no point in wanting to join this. That is for now, of course, though. They can do it in future videos. Brazil is a member of the Neutral Alliance. That is true. But they just elected a leader in the past couple of weeks or months. And that leader turned out to be a dictator. And I know that Brazil was
just like Keir Starmer.
Dictator phase in previous videos.
Well, not really.
Now they're going full force, and Brazil is going to invade whatever this is. I honestly don't even know. Bolivia, if that is you, it's over. Brazil's aggressive expansion into Bolivia, they are effectively kicked out of the neutral organization. And after annexing all of Bolivia, they decide they're going to go ahead and
the red team
in on the Red Alliance. Kind of a big deal.
How predictable.
That this is right on the doorstep of the United States of America. And at this point, the Neutral Alliance is kind of losing its reputation for being a good, viable choice to go to if you truly want to be neutral, because you know, Kazakhstan and
very
Uzbekistan,
neutral. Are we having a laugh?
The problem is that they don't actually exist. And now with Bolivia's disappearance, some people are starting to question.
You should You should probably update that map, mate.
Like a good idea
I thought they existed.
So looking at this world map now, it just got even. It got really even in terms of landmass. In terms of power, of course, the blue team still holds a ginormous advantage. But the red team is slowly gaining power. They're slowly gaining members, and of course a lot of land and resources. World tensions seem to be soaring at this point, and countries are bracing for another global conflict, which will be the 5th of its kind in world history. And something very bad is about to happen to the blue
here we go.
Its strongest country, the United States of America, who has been holding out for
They're gonna leave.
years and years, just went through a tough election.
No,
Similar to the 2020 election, which took place hundreds of years ago. The outcome of it was not accepted by many. Many believe that the election was stolen from one side, and they're opting to overthrow the government now. And on January 7th of whatever year this event is taking place in, they get to the Capitol building, and they manage to get into the chambers of the Congress, and they managed to take the lives of several U.S. government representatives. This in turn turns into a full-scale civil war, which ends up disbanding the North American Union here. And just like that, the United States is out of the North American Union, which automatically releases this land back to Mexico, and Canada gains independence. Canada is quick to join the WDO, and of course Mexico is quick to assimilate their land, but the USA is going to fall into civil war. And oh, what a semi-familiar map, although some states look to have flipped here in this timeline. Nonetheless, civil war is here,
just
and
like the war in the past.
Pretty much just excused from world
I
activities.
mean, the civil war in the
Red team
past.
is gonna love this. But for now, the U.S. focuses on fixing itself, which
Before they formed.
is gonna leave some countries vulnerable. Hi, Georgia.
I don't know.
That's
I'm done.
not nice. Come on, Russia. Really? Really, man? Really? All right, Georgia is now Russian again for the 10th time in the series. And
damn!
Armenia opts to join in on Russia's team. And by team, I mean country. And now Turkey is starting to regret leaving the WDO, as their border is now lined with Russians. And those lined Russians start to enter. Now, the orders here are kind of confusing for the Russians because they don't know what they're supposed to do.
Is it lagging?
Hi, Georgia. That's nice. Come on, Russia. Really? What they're told to do is just to go. Like, that doesn't really help. Like, are we supposed to go into the country, go to the border?
It's lagging a bit.
Russian troops zoom into Turkey, and honestly, Russia's kind of strong here. It's kind of weird how strong they are, you know, considering that they're losing all of their more valuable parts. But I mean, it is the combined strength of the old Eastern world working together here, and of course, all these developed African nations now, because you know it's been hundreds of years. I'm sure Africa has finally developed. But,
probably a lot, actually.
Newfound strength is certainly helping them out here. So they take Azerbaijan away and start invading into Iraq.
Okay, that is strange. I wonder what happened there.
But it doesn't necessarily appear that
America's doings, maybe?
I'm sure they do have some of its land.
Is that Israel?
Focusing in on these other areas of Turkey. And Turkey is unable to really hold themselves back from being invaded. And eventually they are left with like this. And it is at this point that they agree to peace. Looking at this peace treaty here, we have, well, a banishment of Turkey. Basically what the Axis does here is that they make it so Turkey is not allowed to join the WDO in any given scenario, So yeah, if Turkey was having thoughts of rejoining, those thoughts are now dead. In addition to that, they released Kurdistan. This is most likely just to kind of like make fun of Turkey.
Okay, it's kind of getting better.
Part of the access here. That's no shots fired at Kurdistan. They're just kind of under the control of the red team. And of course, Azerbaijan and any parts of Armenia that remained are now a part of Iran and Russia. Back over to the U.S. Civil War, things are getting a lot prettier for the blue team here, which is just the normal U.S. government. They're able to push back the rebellious Canadians who were for some reason a part of the U.S. here. I don't know if it was some kind of treaty they did with Canada when they united, or I have no idea. But it was most likely just a land swap for Alaska. If, like, for God forbid,
Alaska's gone as well.
Alaska will take over New Brunswick. So that's probably what happened there. But yeah, like I said, for the blue team, things are getting prettier.
That's not good for America.
Kentucky and South Carolina areas. They're able to push back Wisconsin and the Minnesota areas. And they also managed to cut off the Nevada area from the rest of the red team, which automatically makes them capitulate. Overall, the blue team here is receiving a lot of support from the EU and other allies across the world. And this civil war is soon to be over. It finally managed to cut across Arkansas and Missouri. Now at this point, it's just a bunch of like mountain dudes riding around with their chainsaws and what do they do over here? Now it's just Florida. Of course it's Florida. Florida is the last country or state that remains, and well, yeah, the Florida man will not be able to win this war.
Well, very interesting.
So now that
it's just crazy.
There's a bit of a problem. They don't want to reunite with Canada and Mexico, or the parts of Mexico they took, so they can't really reunite with it. But they can't
invade it.
Canada because they both don't want it. That was a scary civil war situation. Canada doesn't want to go through it. The United States isn't ready to go through with a union, so they're just gonna be left on their own. Of course, the U.S. is gonna rejoin the WDO here, but they're gonna be rejoining as not the strongest country.
You need Alaska back, bro.
It's likely to go to China, or it's going to go to the European Union. It could also go to Korea or Japan because I'm not sure how much they've developed in this timeline.
U.S. is kind of weak now.
Scary situation there for the U.S. and the WDO. The red team most certainly took advantage of it and invaded a couple of countries. But that is going to do it for today's alternative future video. So if you did enjoy it, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel. If you're
first one we've actually watched.
100,000 subscribers, almost there. We have
fully watched.
750 more to go, as I said earlier. And it would be amazing if we hit that by the end of January. I think we have a chance to do it. So yeah, if you haven't subscribed, make sure
to
do
okay,
it.
I think
video will be out tomorrow. I'm not going to say
Part 13.
Comes out. Thank you guys so much.
So
today we're going to be continuing
Jesus
to look at
Christ.
the future of the world. We're now on
Bro, we're just gonna
have new governments that are WDO and collapse.
I thought I was on like part 18 or something.
So the blue team is
so now it's just two sides.
in a very bad situation. They just don't know how to stop the red team. They've just been rolling and rolling, and it hasn't been stopping. But now the red team is going to pull another act, and this one's really going to hurt the blue team. Argentina joins in on the Axis. Once again, more countries are starting to show their true sides. This time Argentina joins the red team because they believe that the red team will be triumphant in a war against the WDO. Also, them and Brazil is enough to take over South America. If they join the blue team, they'd have to fight Brazil forever, wait for America to help out.
So
And
bad,
overall, Argentina just sees more success happening
God.
with the red team. And this is going to influence a lot of countries, specifically Uruguay. They're going to join the red team. Now, Uruguay is a neutral country, but if you kind of look at World War II, there are some countries that joined the Axis just because it was more convenient for them, or because they're just avoiding getting invaded, like Thailand. They weren't a true Axis member. Japan just kind of forced them in so they don't like get invaded by Japan. So today we're going to be continuing to look at
Whoa. Okay.
the alternative future of the world. We are now on part 19.
Yep,
which means
that's
the next
the
episode is the finale.
Yeah, we're gonna watch all this in
That's right, you
all
heard
the
me.
next
The
episode.
alternative future of the World Series will be ending next episode, but don't fret because there is going to be a season 2 coming out shortly after, in which is going to be a little bit different than this series was. But let's go ahead and jump right into the recap. So last time we had a lot happen, as every episode, of course, there's always going to be a lot happening. We had a series of wars in Africa, which led to there being a big three, with the formation and creation of the European Order, which is not really European anymore, with Ethiopia and Argentina joining it. So it's more of just a new, we'll call them the Central Powers. So we have the Allies, the Central Powers, and the Axis. It's a little bit of a mingle of the first two world wars. That alliance was created and expanded. We have the Red Team, aka the Axis, losing a little bit of land through all the African stuff. And then, of course, the Yellow Team, aka the Central Powers, was doing a lot of expanding over here in Central Europe. And now we're shaping up to
What, the World War One?
finale for the series. with a lot of countries on a lot of different teams. So if you do enjoy this alternative future video, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you're new. That's going to help us reach our goals. We're aiming for 105,000 by the end of the month, which means we have, so you're seeing this on the 29th, so 2 days after this to get to 105k. I think we can probably do it. It would be pretty cool if we do. And yeah, let's go ahead and jump into the war. That's right, I said war. Russia declares war on Sweden. Now this development is a pretty foreseen one. The Scandinavian countries were being very neutral and not doing much. And Russia is the quite opposite of that. They're being not very neutral and doing a lot. Although in recent videos they haven't really been doing too much, but still they have been doing. So, like I said, Russia declares war on Sweden and their troops immediately start to flood into northern Sweden. This country was a previous member of the WDO, and that kind of got destroyed, and they never rejoined the Allies, so they're left to kind of rot. Now, why didn't they join the Allies? I have no idea. There was probably a reason that I said before that I forgot. That's what happens when you play by the series as far as I do. But in landing down here near Stockholm, the eventual capturing of the city is pretty much going to spell out Sweden's defeat as they push over to the borders of Norway and cut the country into two. This area, no people. This area, a lot of people. Therefore, this area, easy to take. They're going to take a few islands and slowly make their way into Sweden until eventually the government is forced to surrender over. And now we can take a look at a peace treaty. Alright, in this peace treaty here, we have
That's
Sweden
not good.
being
I don't think so. I don't
Russia.
think that's very good.
I can't really show that on the map since it's a blank world map. But do know the Swedish government is technically a Russian government and they are forced onto the Axis. And this is going to scare Norway. Rightfully so. I would be scared too. So now with a lot of pressure on them, they're going to go ahead and make the pretty smart decision of joining an alliance. Said alliance is going to be the Allies, of course. And do you remember the WDO was limited from reforming, aka the Allies? The treaty is kind of weird because it was a weird treaty. I can't really describe it well. But the Allies are not allowed to necessarily reform the WDO and expand as much as they were in Europe specifically. They haven't necessarily done that, but they do reach from Spain to Turkey and up north to Norway. So Russia could technically say that's a violation, but they're not going to, because I said they're not going to. Also, we got the windows open today. It is springtime, and I'm probably going to shoot myself in the foot by opening my windows because of my allergies, but hey,
Yeah.
if you didn't know it's a window, it is a window. Is open. Also, concerning the 100k specials, I don't know. Anyway, back to the video. Ireland is joining the Allies due to just feeling lonely, being neutral. Speaking of neutral, Switzerland has not changed at all this entire series. Now, I'm just now realizing something. Did I release the Caribbean? I don't think I did, but I don't remember if I made them release the Caribbean. So we're gonna say they're still American. And if
Oh, that's interesting.
they're not American, they join the Allies. Solutions. All right, so it starts shaping up, and
Great.
China just did something funny. Except remember, it's not necessarily China. These are technically robots. Remember,
Yeah.
Tibetan robots expanded into China and took over their government. And now Robo China is going to attack the remainder of Siam. They invade down and
You guys might want to stop them.
to the country and go through the jungles of Vietnam as well as Cambodia and Laos. Slowly but surely, but do remember these are robotic things, so they kind of don't care. Don't care in the sense that like the jungles won't slow them down. They're AI. They move through the tail of Thailand and eventually their entire country is captured, which is going to lead to their annexation. All right, so China is now spreading down to Southeast Asia, and they have gotten themselves
Big
Siam.
country.
So now where do they go? If they wanted to keep going, they could just kind of go down to Indonesia. But unfortunately for them, Indonesia just joined an alliance, and the alliance that they're going to join is actually going to be the Central Powers, who are now expanding to all corners of the world, or I guess corners in the map, because technically, you know, it's a globe, so it wraps around. Now the Axis is kind of wondering who their biggest threat is. Is it going to be the Central Powers, or is it going to be the Allies? Well, that is
Nah.
going to be made very clear.
Y'all need to gangbang China.
Because of the peace treaty, nor my ignorance. But staying in this region, Japan is going to join the Allies.
Yeah,
And
good.
this is going to kind of piss off Russia a little bit. Understandably so.
Bro,
They
what?
said no more expansion for the blue team. The blue team just expanded more. And now Russia is threatening to invoke the, well, I guess the countermeasure to the Allies expanding. They send an ultimatum over to the Allies saying, if you expand one more diddly darn time, we are going to invade you. The Allies say, okay. Literally just send a note back, a giant piece of paper that just says, oh. So they don't expand anymore for now. Over in the Americas, we have a pretty interesting war breakout that has nothing to do with the major alliances. First of all, we have Mexico declaring war on the Central American Union, which recently just broke away from the Axis and that whole Civil War thingy that happened. And Mexico recently also got away from the United States' rule. These are two countries that are kind of fresh in terms of like being themselves and not under the grasp. They're independent, basically. These guys are not as stacked as they once were. then that's because the access is not there anymore. I'm closing the window because there are dogs barking. Alright, the Mexicans invaded up into Belize and down into Guatemala. The Central Americans are kind of like, they're baffled.
I should have just reacted to WICSO, man. This is not the most entertaining thing in the world.
Equipment as well as access equipment from the war that was left over in their country, whereas in the Central American Union,
or at least season 2, man.
Everything. Mexico strong. Central America, not so strong. Eventually, Colombia is going to rejoin in this war in order to reclaim Panama, which they haven't had for centuries now. But hey, better late than never. Divide up over.
Bro. Okay.
Broken.
We just don't really care about the backstory, okay?
Remember when I said Colombia and Ecuador are going to unite? Boom. Grand Colombia is essentially reformed
wow.
as Venezuela, but it could very easily be reintegrated. And the world is looking very, kind of split. Of course, the Axis has the utmost of advantages right now, having a peace treaty over the Allies and preventing their expansion. They basically just have
Allies is blue, Axis is red. Central Powers is yellow. Neutral is white.
By that, I mean they could invade Colombia to stop Mexico from invading Colombia, but they're not going to do that because that would make the United States very angry. You don't want to make them angry, except they're not as strong as they are today, so maybe you can. I don't know. So, now we have Greece falling apart. That's a quick turn of events, I know. These poor guys are not allowed to be neutral. No, that's actually literally what the Axis just said. No neutrality on our borders. Be wary. Be very wary. So the Axis starts their invasion of Greece. They move into its panhandle and start to invade around until eventually the Allies declare war in Greece in order to counteract their expansion. Now, Russia said no expanding via alliance, but they didn't say no expanding via war. Aha. Get hot on. I don't know what that means. So the Allies start to invade Greece's islands, and Albania starts an invasion into northern Greece. Are they actually this strong? No, but we're going to assume they are. They just have an empire, so maybe they are this strong. Who knows? But the Allies are going to block the access from the rest of mainland Greece, who's going to fall over to the rest of the Allies. And now we look at this peace deal, which is going to be a very tense one with, you know, access to the Allies being involved. Bulgaria really wants to argue the fact that this is a violation of the treaty. Russia says it's technically not, but, you know, it kind of is. So you're on the hot seat, blue team. Blue team tells them to screw off again. And yeah, it's just back and forth at this point. All right, looking at this deal here, we can see that Greece is forced onto the Allies. Once again, kind of sketchy, might be a violation, but technically it isn't because they didn't join the alliance, they were forced into the alliance. Turkey gets a little bit of land out here, Bulgaria gets their entire panhandle, and weirdly enough, somehow Cyprus ends up on the blue team. Yeah, it was a weird kind of like condition on the treaty where Cyprus was like mentioned, and then it was written down, and then Allied troops showed up there, and then they were on the blue team. Extortion and exploration, said the blue team. Get wrecked. Europe has now officially chosen a side, and yeah. Oh no. When Europe fully chooses a side, the world starts to choose sides, and
of them.
Here it's gonna get kind of spicy.
Sweden.
Spicy mustard, that is. Uruguay joins in on the yellow team, as well as South Africa. That's a pretty big one, literally. And the final remaining countries are going to go to 2 other teams. But the problem with that is that no one can join the blue team. So they must be joining the red team, right? Well, no. The 2 sides start to gear up. And there's troops on every single border that isn't allied. Everyone's waiting for the pull of the trigger, but the ignition of this war will not be caused by the pull of a trigger. Instead, it will be instigated by a signature with pen and paper. And all coordinates, Colombia, Chile, Australia, New Zealand, and the Philippines all join in on the Allies. An operation known as Operation Defiance. The access
okay, I was about to say, why is the quality so bad? But okay.
All meet in Iran, specifically the Big 4, aka Egypt, India, Russia, and Iran itself. They all meet in Tehran and discuss what is going to happen. Obviously, this is a violation of the treaty, and war can happen because of this, but are they willing to go to that measure? The answer is in, and it is yes. This war will be to rid the Allies of existence, take over as much land as possible.
So cooked. They are so cooked.
Red team-sponsored governments. The Axis and the Allies are now at war, but it's not just that. There are around 4 countries remaining which are neutral. That includes Brazil, the Western Union, Switzerland, and China. Brazil will rejoin the red team. The Western Union will technically rejoin the blue team, although it's kind of a different union, but they were on the blue team when they were just like the Northern Western Union. Now they are the Western Union, and they joined the blue team. And as for China and Switzerland, they choose to remain neutral. This is a kind of surprising thing, but
very
what happens. The Axis here outpowers the blue team, but the blue team has the geographical advantage.
Important part of the plot.
And when it does come to fighting on different fronts, Australia is a good distraction, the Philippines is a good distraction, Japan is a good distraction, whereas they can focus their manpower over here in Northern Africa and Europe. Wiping out Alaska and Brazil will be a priority for the blue team, but the red team, they could just send all their manpower into Europe and wipe out the blue team as soon as possible. But a new headline just struck the news, and someone just unveiled Operation Domination. Who revealed that? Why, Germany, of course. The yellow team declared war on both the
well.
in hopes of wiping both
do we have
alliances
here?
off the map at the same time while they're fighting each other in order to get domination over the world.
It's
That's right.
something, bro.
A war between the Allies, the Axis, and the Central Powers, which is going
Just
to
a
shape
mapping
the world
scenario,
and lead to its destruction.
alternative
So,
future of the world.
This video. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you're new. If you guys are ready for the finale of the series, make sure.
I'm gonna watch the final part.
At the finale of the this is going to video or videos and today. Well, when you see this video, of course. If you haven't seen the previous video or videos or the entire series as a whole, go binge watch it right now because this is going to be a banger. Once
I don't have time for that.
This video is, I'm going to try to make it as crazy possible in a good way, and yeah. Let's just jump into it. If you're new here, make sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel for new. Also, the merch is going away very soon. It might be gone by the next video. So,
cheers, mate. Don't care.
As in every alternative feature video. Most importantly, though, there is a three-way war happening between the Allies.
You might want to listen to this if you want to watch it.
Speaking of these three alliances in the last video, they all expanded greatly, with kind of the expansion triggering this very war. The Allies, of course,
mod, bro. Adizz
to expand, but they did so anyway, which caused the Axis to declare war on them.
It's pretty goated. It's pretty goated.
Australia, New Zealand, Philippines, as well as Japan. That violated the treaty. The Axis declared war on the Allies, and the Central Powers joined in on that war in order to kind of just, you know,
Russia owns Alaska, by the way, but you can't see it because my webcam is in the way.
And they want to take advantage of a weak Allies and Axis, and of course weak as in like they're at war with each other. They're not weak. By all means, the Central Powers is probably the weakest alliance here, and the Axis the strongest, but they think they can take advantage of this little war that's happening between the Allies and Axis. But we'll have to see what happens. Also, there is a very notable thing happening on this map right now. Of course, there's blue, there's red, there's yellow, and then there's white. China is completely neutral. In the last video, they took over Siam.
Very important part of the plot. PPP.
Also a white country here. Now they haven't
Another
done anything
PPP.
this entire series. They've been neutral forever. Like since episode 1. Their borders have not changed. They haven't gotten involved with any alliances, any wars, anything like that. I don't even think I've mentioned them, aside from, like, you know, mentioning the fact that they are neutral. So with the obvious stated, let's get straight to the fighting. You guys have been waiting for it. Alright, we have Axis troops making the first move here in the Turkey. Now Turkey has
guess who's gonna win?
Episodes, more so the later half of the series. But they have been invaded, they have been broken apart, reunited, all of that. And they are not as strong as they once were. So, the Axis is a pretty easy time pushing into them from Russia, Iran, and this. But also from Bulgaria.
This.
Kind of a lone star over here in Europe, surrounded by the Central Powers. And then,
bro.
No, not Albania. Wait a minute. No, this is Albania. I forgot about that. But yeah, Albania to their west. So they're going to have to do what they can do to survive. I doubt that they're going to last very long on this front, but you never know. Elsewhere, we see the Axis invade into Norway, as well into Poland. Now, this scenario will be kind of a turn-based kind of thing.
The triple entente needs to align with the allies if they want to win.
Just because this is a three-way war, it's
definitely triple entente.
Jump all over the place. As I said, blue team's turn. The United States is quick to invade into Mexico here. Mexico.
Yeah, it's quite confusing, bro. You're gonna have to watch like episode 1.
Or maybe joining the Allies, but since they were under the United States
yeah,
forever,
this is like
kind of
3 years ago it was made.
But here, yeah, I mean, Mexico was kind of torn apart.
It's a bit boring until, like, it doesn't really, this part doesn't really matter until, oh my god, the series doesn't really matter until here. It ends in season 2, and this is season 3, which they're much longer than season 1, so it's really long.
Collapsed and the United States was invaded. Ever since then, they haven't been as powerful as they once were. Sure, they have all of their land back and then some, but still, we're talking about this country, which is just, you know, was ripped in half by the United States, left on its own for a year, forced into the WDO. Then all of a sudden, we have the Axis coming along, invading up through it into America, and then they finally get their independence, and then they get involved with another war over here in Central America, and yeah. I mean,
yeah, very understandable to put it.
Oh yeah, newsflash, America's strong again. Just in time too, how convenient. Down south we see Colombia start to invade into Brazil here, and their kind of their strategy is to basically just get Brazil out of the war as soon as possible. The Americans up north, the United States, if you will, are going to help them out as much as possible, but it's they have to focus on Alaska and Mexico first. So
Nah,
they're
bro.
kind of on their own
Gotta
here.
watch
They also
this.
have to rely on Argentina and Uruguay to go after both Brazil
Uruguay.
and Chile, unfortunately. But with that distraction in the south,
Cheers, Alaska.
maybe Colombia and Venezuela will be able to hold out. All right, now over to Europe with the blue team. They're going to start to invade into Germany. Not much else. In Africa, we see the blue team start to invade into Tunisia. And Australia makes a landing in Papua New Guinea. Their invasion of this island goes pretty swiftly as Indonesian troops were not ready for this, surprisingly enough. And now they start their island hopping campaigns. All right, now it's the yellow team's turn.
Oh my god, another voice crack, I heard that.
Argentina invading up into South Brazil, as well as over into not Argentina, that is it's Chile. I'm embarrassed. But Chile is basically knocked out of this war right away with their capital of Santiago being captured, and they take no time in surrendering. They don't want to be a part of it. As much as they are a strong member of the Allies, you know, as soon as you lose your capital in this kind of scenario down here in South America, it's probably best just to surrender. Now hopping over to Africa, they are going to do all sorts of things over here. It's a big war. The South Africans invade both countries at the same time with the help of Ethiopia. Indonesia does nothing but go on defense. And over here in Europe, we have Romania and Serbia invading. Is that Serbia? Yes, it is Serbia. They're invading into Bulgaria. They also invade into Albania and take over their capital, which is not good. We have the Germans invading into Poland. This is where a majority of their forces are. So this is why they're kind of very in the lowlands. But they're also invading up into Denmark, taking this thing over in 8 hours instead of 6. Remember how a couple videos ago
should have been 7.
An alternative future series.
Should
6 hours, and then it was 7 hours.
Alright,
8
bro.
hours. So progressively, Denmark is getting better at not dying in a short amount of time. Anyway, it's the red team's turn to screw stuff up. They take a different approach in Africa and go straight towards the Sahara. There's like nobody here. I say this every time I mention the Sahara, but it's just a wasteland. There's no point in invading it.
Don't break your wall again.
The red team is doing it is just to make it look like they're doing stuff on the map, even though they really aren't. All they're doing is walking.
Sahara doesn't.
Back over here in Europe, we have them taking over the northern part of Norway.
Why would they ever do that? There's no actual point.
Let's just pretend that they take it. And they also take Oslo, which is not good. They make a landing in northern Japan and start to move down south. Luckily, this island here is not very, I mean, I don't want to say it's not valuable, but compared to like the main island of Japan, you would rather lose this than lose this. Brazil is going to make a little incursion into Venezuela up north, as well as make a landing in Cyprus and take over more of Turkey. Finally, they're going to take a little bit more of Poland, and eventually Poland is going to have to be forced to surrender.
Normal Russia and Germany interactions.
Now this is a new front line. This isn't a peace treaty. The yellow team and the red team are not working together. They are fighting against each other. Let me go ahead and grab a thumbnail real quick. Alright, heading back over to America. America is going to continue to invade into Mexico. They're not going to make a landing over here in the Yucatan Peninsula and move down towards Central America, where eventually we have Colombia starting an invasion into Nicaragua. America makes another landing, this time from the Caribbean into the Honduras area. And slowly but surely, Central America is liberated from Mexico, even though they're under Mexico's rule compared to the United States is due to language and a lot more. But then again, you know, there's the whole Honduras, El Salvador thing, there's Guatemala, and yeah, there's a lot of things that are not going well down here in real life right now. So maybe it's better. Okay, I'm not going to say that though, because being under U.S. rule is not fun. Unless you are like from America itself. You're going to start sending a majority of troops
they fell
to South America in order to fend off Brazil and Argentina, but also sending some troops up towards Canada to take back Alaska. If that's even a plausible thing to say. Probably not. I highly doubt that Russia is even defending that, because it is, I mean, it's a lot of land, and, you know, Russia, I don't have it on the map. I used to have it, but I erased it. It's kind of like that. That's a really bad drawing, but you have to, like, cross the Bering Strait, and then that's not fun, so they're probably not defending it. They probably sucked up all the oil that they can and let getting the melt. Back over in Europe here, France and their guys are going to continue to do well.
Lovely World War II.
Even more of the Netherlands and
Or
finally
one. Probably more one.
They also enter into Italy from the mountains. But little do they know that Germany is about right here. And they're about to go about right here, maybe. In Africa, we have the blue team continuing to invade across northern Africa, targeting major cities along the Mediterranean coast. They are not the slightest bit worried about this, because this is irrelevant.
Yeah, like, what are you doing in here, mate? Not the smartest thing in the world.
Continue to do island hopping as to take more and more of Indonesia's islands. And if we're talking about Australia right now, they're probably like really strong in this timeline. I've probably already said this before. It's been a long 20 episodes, but Australia in this timeline is probably like one of the strongest countries just because of their location. They can take advantage of how big their country is. They can use the center stuff maybe for military testing and stuff. I don't know what you guys do with that outback, but we're going to assume that they're a very strong country, and that's why they're taking on Indonesia, who's also probably one of the stronger countries due to their growing population.
Probably.
You know, they also have a large amount of land.
Probably.
But they continue to do island hopping, and Indonesia lets it happen. And that is until they get to the 4 main areas of Indonesia. They take a little bit more islands, and after that, they are unable to take islands. The colonized can no longer colonize. Heading back to Europe now, we have the Germans doing something
That's wrong,
crazy,
buddy.
Except it's not crazy because I already said it was going to happen. They push back the blue team,
Should be
specifically France,
Britain.
and they do so with relatively a lot of ease. They finally meet back with the original border, and from here they enter into the Belgium. That's right, the Belgium. They head into northern France, and now France is starting to freak out because this is about to happen to them for like the 3rd or 4th time in history. The Central Powers managed to capitulate all of Albania/Greece, and the red team picks all of Turkey and a lot of Greece's islands. So now their military presence in the Mediterranean Sea is pretty substantial. The South Africans continue to mainly target the Egyptians because they have a grudge against them. But no, I mean they don't have really a
Wait, none of this even matters, does it? Because it's just gonna.
I'm on my team.
Okay, whatever. Just go watch it anyway.
We did nothing to each other, so they do take a little bit of land, but they're mainly going after Egypt here. Argentina does a little bit more invading into Brazil, but they are eventually stopped by Brazilian forces. Back in Europe, we have the red team starting their invasion of the Central Powers. They take over They take over Moldova with relative ease. Capturing their capital. They then go into Slovakia and start to invade the German portions, English, that were taken over by the Germans. I mean, Poland. God, what am I saying right now? I don't speak my own language very well. I don't know why this is not letting me. Right? Let me try doing that, actually. Yeah, there we go. So the Russians and the red team are pushing into Europe. They also start to take back parts of Bulgaria, and the Balkan area of the yellow team is looking very not good. Back in Africa,
yellows are not
Egyptians
strong.
Back the South Africans, and
the yellow people
this is
not strong, man.
Thing right here. This is a large amount of land. So it's just a lot of skirmishes, not really that much advancing. In South America, we have the Brazilians pushing back the Argentinians. They took over all of Uruguay, and so they're about to capture Argentina's capital. From here, they start to advance on all fronts into northern Argentina. They're not really focusing in on the north here, and that's probably not a great
staring at stream too long.
They help Venezuela push out the Brazilians, and from here, they start their invasion of Brazil.
We're going to continue.
Probably doesn't even exist anymore.
After we watch this, we're going to continue to watch series in like 2 streams or something.
It's all been chopped down or fires and global warming. Future doesn't sound too fun. But the blue team is invading Brazil to the best of their capability. Up in Alaska, we have the blue team pushing back against the... Well, they're not pushing back, but they are invading Alaska, and they take over the major parts of it. And
he's saying that because like he's used to America being a part of the... He's used to Alaska being a part of America, and so
captured. The Russians, if they were defending Alaska, would only be along the southern coast right here, and they weren't there. So basically, Alaska is now re-Americanized. I mean, technically, it was Canadian, but before that, it was American. So they're re-North Americaned, something like that. I don't know. Now we have the blue team making a landing in from the Philippines into northern Indonesia. Now this was kind of a surprise invasion. And it goes pretty well at first, but eventually it stalemates out. And slowly but surely, the blue team is starting to kind of lose power around the world. As for the yellow team, they continue to push into France. They've already got the fries, now they need the French to make the French fries. Funny joke. They capture Paris, and France... That's right. Got you real good there.
Sorry.
But they do their best to hold it. The UK is of course sending troops down, and I actually managed to stalemate them. Surprisingly enough, France holds out. And this is they're holding up because the rest of the world, the yellow team, is kind of struggling. Argentina is losing land to Brazil at a very rapid rate. The South Africans are in a stalemate with the red team and aren't really going after the blue team right now. The Indonesians just got snuck up on, and they've been kind of limited to this area over here. Germany seems to be the only one carrying weight, but even then, they are starting to get invaded by the Russians. Speaking of the Russians, they take all of Norway. They take Romania, capitulate that country. They save all of Bulgaria and even annex all of Albania. That is so weird to say. From here, they start to push into Serbia.
Do an ASMR video.
Good. Very not good. The Brazilians continue their rapid invasion of Argentina.
Only one person in this whole entire world will get what I'm talking about right now.
After a few more days, weeks, or months of fighting, Argentina surrenders over to Brazil, and from here, Chile is traded over to the red team for Chile. Now Brazil can focus on the north here and battle up against the United States and Canada, as well as Colombia.
You find this interesting?
Forces moving up north to try to
it's alright, I guess.
Forces, but this plan fails. So instead they start to go after the Atlantic coast, but this also fails. They do a little bit more pushing back up against the South Africans, but they've only been able to do that over here in the center of Africa. Elsewhere they've been unsuccessful. And over in Japan, we have the landing of red team troops in northern Japan and the invasion of the island. Now Japan is probably very heavily populated at this point, or maybe they're not, because their population is actually rapidly declining in real life. They make another landing over here where the big nuclear bombs were dropped, and the red team is starting to creep up into Japan.
They're gonna get dropped again.
Very slowly. Back over in Europe. Holy crap! France is pushing back Germany.
It's about to happen. It's about to happen, guys.
Is having flashbacks to World War II when they were getting pancaked. Paris is liberated.
Oh my god, it's gonna happen.
The blue team isn't actually doing that bad in the European front, which is surprising. In the African front, they managed to push back the red team in Africa,
I mean, when yellows collapse, I think the reds might just win.
They also push back the South Africans in the south, saying that, you know, we're kind of chill. They don't sign a peace treaty here, but they basically agree to like a, what's it called? Armistice? No. Yes, it is armistice. I am stupid. In Indonesia, the invasions of Indonesia are starting to kind of ramp back up again. They capture Jakarta, no, they capture Java and Jakarta, and with that, Indonesia essentially collapses, losing all of Borneo. I highly doubt that Indonesia would fall this quickly, even to Australia.
Should have just aligned together, bro.
Speed that part up a little bit. So now the oceanic front
speed it up.
blue.
Speed it all up.
Oceanic, as in everything south of the Philippines, because this obviously is not going well. Back in Brazil, the Colombians and the Venezuelans and the Americans and the Canadians, the Americans, are doing great against Brazil. So much so that the Brazilians are kind of questioning why they kind of suck at war, especially against the blue team and the North Americans. Maybe because all their forces are trying to put down all the Argentinian rebellions in the south. Maybe because the red team isn't supplying them. Who knows? The blue team and Brazil specifically are going to come to an agreement here, basically signing an armistice just like the Western Union and the South African Union did. This armistice also has some terms to it. This isn't an official peace treaty once again. So, Chile is to be released by Brazil. All Brazilian forces are to leave Chile, and in exchange for that, the blue team will leave Brazil.
Chile.
Now I put emphasis on Brazilian there for a reason, because they only leave Brazilian lands. They don't recognize Peru and the Guyana area as Brazilian. And Brazil's okay with this right now because they're kind of struggling. But that armistice is signed between Brazil and then the Americans. And now the Americans are going to Europe, kind of like in World War II, but this time it's a little bit different because Germany's already crumbling. They will do something funny that is very similar to Blitzkrieg and try to take out Russia. Basically, they send all of their manpower, not all of it, but a majority of it, into Russia to try to take Moscow and somehow convince the red team to sign a peace treaty. This goes well for about a week. They definitely don't get to the extent of which they once were, but oh, very quickly does this backfire. The Russians are pummeling Germany. They take back all of that land, plus Poland, and now they're up in Serbia and into Italy, all of Slovakia, and in the southern parts of Germany. They even
reading like that.
Denmark and take over that entire country. The northern German coast is cut off by the Axis and by the Allies over here. Berlin is on the brink of being captured, and it's basically just Germany and Italy and South Africa and Ethiopia, they exist, versus the world. Germany, it feels like they're backed into a corner here,
and China
to threaten the Allies and the Axis, saying if you don't leave our country now, there's going to be catastrophic events. The Axis and the Allies, not knowing what kind of mess they're about to get into, deny this and continue to invade Germany. And as soon as the Allies cross over into Frankfurt, all hell is unleashed on both alliances. Nuclear bombs hit key cities such as Paris and London. Madrid and Lisbon.
I think that might have happened already.
Dublin, Oslo, Copenhagen.
Whoa, that's a big bomb.
Warsaw, Bucharest, Athens, Sofia, Kiev. We have Riga. We have Tallinn. Is that what it's called? Yeah, I think it's Tallinn. Helsinki's hit. Stockholm. I think I already said Stockholm. They're hit again. I'm kind of missing some of the cities here. Lithuania's capital. Moscow.
Moscow, definitely.
Odessa. Istanbul. Ankara. Alexandria. Jerusalem. Tehran. Washington, D.C. Miami. The northern coast of Brazil. Morocco's kind of lit up a little bit. Same with some of the northern Mediterranean cities, Tunis.
Yeah, well, that's just great.
Libya's capital. And we can kind of see the range of Germany's nukes here. So it's centered kind of like this, if you can kind of make it out. Except they've been more predominantly hitting this side of the circle. The circle actually goes a little bit more over here.
Yeah, wow.
This is just the area which they've hit so far. This is what they've yet to hit. Speaking of, Islamabad, Delhi, major Indian cities. This is wiping out millions and millions of people. And the Axis and the Allies are going to respond. Berlin,
Very
Rome,
bad.
the major cities in South Africa. Basically, they're just bombing every major city.
So we're just ending the world now. Yeah.
Being quite honest with you.
Pretty much, bro. Everyone's dead.
Now, the Allies and the Axis did an oopsie. They nuked each other. So Korea is lit up like a firework. Japan cannot get enough of that radiation. The Philippines
Great.
all lit up. So is Australia. And
That's a big bomb down there.
Very bad for humanity, not just the world, the countries, but actual humanity as a whole. What did New Zealand do to deserve this? Nothing, but they got it anyway. Now we have cities like Chicago getting hit. We have Los Angeles getting hit. San Francisco, Portland, Seattle, Houston.
I thought they couldn't actually reach that far.
Canada, I didn't forget about you. So, all your cities are hit. You don't have very many major cities, so that'll do for you. Algiers is hit, and finally,
Very smart guy.
starting to kick in, and people are dying in like billions. I'm not sure of the population of the world at this point because there's been so much war happening. I'm gonna give it maybe 12 to 13 billion. I might be lowballing it there, but there's a lot of people dying. So of those 12 to 13 billion, I'd say around 6 billion has died so far just from the nukes.
And then like another
futuristic scenario. This is like 200 to 300 years later. So
20 billion robots.
probably going to be like a lot more powerful than they are today. I'd also assume that the measures against them are also going to be pretty powerful in this timeline. But the numbers of nukes has probably greatly increased too due to World War III and World War IV. And was there a World War V? Probably.
Yeah.
This is probably World War VI or VII. I don't know. Anyway, humanity in the completely eliminated from existence, being split between the Allies and Axis. Now it's just a war between the Allies
It's crazy.
and Axis. In Africa,
It's absolutely
the Axis
insane.
is quick to sweep out all of the Western Union in order to focus in on Europe,
Yep,
Australia,
we are
and the New
cooked.
World, which at this point is probably the old world, and this is the older world. The Western Union is swept, and so is Morocco. Any chance that the blue team had in Europe is quickly not a chance. Japan
Using the blue team.
into Colombia and Venezuela.
Speeding this up real fast.
And so is Spain. The UK is left. We have Colombia and Venezuela being forced
For now.
being falling over to the red team. Mexico is now starting to be invaded by the red team, and at this point, it is do or die for the blue team. And unfortunately, the blue team is going to choose die. And what do I mean by that? Well,
Damn, it's really boring, bro.
lose this war. They are sick and tired of all the wars happening in the world. The world
They
today
dropped the
is infested
biggest
by war. They can't win the
bombs.
wars, and when they
I just
do win
leaked
the
it, I
wars,
think.
doesn't last. They can never defeat the enemy that is at this point Russia. The core of this whole series has always been the United States versus Russia. The United States has won some, Russia has won some. This is the final draw between them. It looks like Russia is going to win, and if they do win this one, they will claim the world, unlike the United States was unable to do. And when Russia does claim the world, they are going to convert everything to their ideology. Not saying that they do the same thing, but that is the ultimate goal of Russia here and their allies of India, Iran, Egypt, and many, many more. Americans in the Americas, so people from the United States, would most likely be targeted by any Russian government officials. They could be tortured. They could be locked up for any reason, basically a Russian Holocaust, but I don't want to put it in that kind of word because Russia would never do something like that. But you get the idea of what I'm saying. It would not be pretty if you're American. And that actually doesn't just apply to America. Of course, that is the #1 enemy of Russia, but also Canadians, Australians, New Zealanders, the UK, Greenlanders, Icelanders, for some reason, the French, Spaniards, the Moroccans, basically anyone that had an association with the WDO, the Japanese, they would be subject to Russian rule, and Russian rule against them would not be fun. So the United States is going to go ahead and pull together a meeting. By this time, the leaders of Australia and New Zealand have already fled their country to America, and the UK has done so as well. But they meet in Washington, D.C. They don't meet there because that's a radiation hole. Instead, they meet in Richmond, Virginia, and they decide to launch Operation Reset. Now, what is Operation Reset?
Oh,
Exactly
beautiful.
they plan to reset
Beautiful.
by any means possible. Just as they're about to put this plan into action, an extraordinary event takes place.
Oh, yes, 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 yes. Oh, yes, 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 yes. I did.
You guys are pretty smart.
I've seen the video.
War on the world. Now let's go over here now. This is not humanity's China. This is AI's China. I just bit my tongue. That freaking hurt.
China.
A pretty sizable robotic army.
This is where it gets good, guys.
This is 300 years in the future, and AI will probably advance to a level of this capability.
Yeah.
They start their invasion of the world, and they are unable to stop them. At this point, humanity
Wow.
as a whole
Very
no
big
match.
sweeps.
Remember, these AI, they are not humans. They can't feel weather. They don't get tired. They are already programmed to be the best
Super
combatants
chat.
they can be. Swimming,
You
diving,
can't because I'm not monetized and I can't make money.
comrades should any of the
So
rebels
sorry
ever fall
about that.
battle, which is already extremely unlikely. These things are war machines, and humanity cannot stop it. All of Russia is
Wow,
wiped out.
big old
All of
purple
Egypt is
and
wiped
pink
out,
and
and soon Europe will fall
yeah.
to the same fate. Billions of AI robots all moving across the world. But for some reason, Switzerland is not taken. Now, why wasn't Switzerland taken? Well, due to their technology, isolation, and overall smartness, they were able to build kind of a force field-like structure around themselves. Now, it's not actually a circle as it's shown on the map. It more lines their border perfectly, and in cases all of Switzerland, it's kind of like a dome. Have you ever seen the Simpsons movie?
Yeah.
Kind of like that, except more jagged and rigid. But the AI is unable to penetrate it. As smart as they are, Switzerland just has a lot of plot armor. I'm gonna be honest with you. Switzerland is safe. That's why the AI has not invaded it. But now with the AI making the cross to
Don't think I will, bro. For a while, until we get like 1,000 subs.
It was instead a battle against humanity and AI. Unfortunately, humanity was too busy fighting itself, and the AI will win this war.
Actually, so real, man.
Thousands and thousands of people are launched into orbit as the AI take over what is
I don't know.
for the Americans. They up and from South America, from
Sad.
Antarctica, and all of South America falls. At this point, world leaders are also shot into orbit as the only
Operation Reset. Come on. Do it.
But there are 3 very important people left in the world. And just as America is about to be captured for the final time, they make a decision in Richmond, Virginia. They launch Operation
the
Reset.
bombs.
Thousands upon thousands of nuclear rockets are shot.
Oh,
not from
let's
just
go.
America, but from Canada, from Colombia, from Chile, from
Surely the
United
AI
States,
would be
Spain,
smart
Poland,
enough to
Turkey,
deactivate them.
all of the allies, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, thousands of rockets from each of those countries are shot up into the air, and one by one all hit the ground at the same time. The last part of the United States and Virginia finally falls, but on that day, humanity is not the only thing that fell. As those rockets hit the ground all over the world, it became very clear that the AI were not going to be able to survive even this. These are Tsar Bomba-sized nukes, and as more and more of them hit, more and more of the world is destroyed. These are just the bigger bombs or smaller bombs hitting everywhere else that are
the AFOTW.
I'd say this size. That's the minimum size. But finally, there are 2 bombs left. 2 of the largest bombs the world has ever seen.
Yes.
Size, magnitude, and capability. These 2 bombs are dropped in 2 very strategical locations. One is dropped in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and the other is dropped over here in the Pacific near China. These 2 bombs were very well coordinated by the last 3 that were surviving in Richmond, and they chose these locations in order to do something that we all know and love. That is, of course, to sink the world into the bottom of the ocean. Tidal waves that are thousands of feet high start to wave over the American continent, wiping out all evidence that humanity ever existed. This isn't just happening one way, it's happening 2 ways. Africa and Europe are hit at the same time, and tidal waves that are once again thousands upon thousands of feet high wipe out any remnants of humanity.
This is great.
Any remnants of land. The second one does.
Should have just watched the last episode.
Australia is engulfed, and with that, the rest of Asia, and eventually, these 2 waves meet and cause a very large boom. A boom that is heard from space as the remainder of humanity watches as their world is engulfed in water. A very prudent green cloud starts to cover the world as the rest of humanity is unable to look upon their Earth.
Oh.
All they see is green.
Just green.
It's not land, it's radiation. And now we're left with 2 dots. Earth is ruined, and it will never be the same as it once was. Land will most likely never exist on this Earth. The probability of land or even life coming back is very low. Humanity, sitting in orbit of its destroyed planet, decides to go elsewhere. For now, Mars, which was most likely already claimed by humanity and most likely in livable conditions. But warfare there would soon prove to be a mess, as Mars falls and meets the same fate as Earth. Humanity would go on to live in different exoplanets along the asteroid belt and even on the moons of Jupiter, but war would follow them wherever they went, and wherever they went would soon be destroyed in a matter of hundreds or thousands of years. Eventually,
we're just gonna die eventually.
As it was destroyed. A large split takes place between them. Half goes to one solar system, the half goes to another.
The second largest city in Croatia, after its capitalization,
What? I'm trying to do storytelling here, woman. But the big split happens.
Oh, I love
half
it.
goes to one solar system, half goes to another, and war still plagues them. Eventually, a ginormous galactic war would take place between these two sides, and the rest is future. I want to thank you guys so much for all of the support that happened with this series. It is by far my most successful series ever. I know it's not a very series, but this one has proven to be a lot better. If you've watched the entire video, thank you. This is going to be a pretty long one, and I'm going to have to get to editing it pretty soon. I really hate editing videos now, but I'll get over it just for this special occasion. But yeah, the sport in the series has been amazing. Season 2, of course, will drop.
Season 2, we'll be watching in a couple of days.
And yeah, so thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed the Alternative Future series, make sure to slam that like button. Make sure to subscribe, ring the notification bell, share, buy my merch, all that fun stuff. Use code Adizz. What was it? Use code 100K away to get 50% out discount on your merch orders. And yeah, once again, thank you guys for all the support. That's like my third or fourth time saying it. You guys get the point now. And this is Adizz Pro saying goodbye from the Alternative Future of the World Series, Season 1.
Die Maschine ist vollständig.
Ist es stabil?
Ich bin mir nicht sicher. Aber was bleibt noch? Was haben wir noch zu verlieren?
Okay. Cheers. We don't know what you're saying. We don't know what you're saying. I don't know what you're saying.
Utilisez le code AD. C'était quoi?
What language is that, bro?
Étirez sur active.
It's actually so good.
So today we're going to be taking a look at...
Nice. Well, that was the whole thing. It's kind of boring, you know, but the end was pretty nice. So we're going to end the stream. We'll watch Season 2, or some parts of Season 2, in a couple of days. So goodbye.